And good evening and welcome to City Focus. I'm Marty Olsen, your host, and tonight I'm absolutely delighted to introduce to the community Tim Sweeney, who's the head men's basketball coach at Connecticut College up on the hill. Coach, it's a real joy to have you on tonight.
Thanks for having me, Marty. Really excited to be here.
Well, it's as a guy who enjoys following sports, and I enjoy watching and following our local squads at Con, Coast Guard, Mitchell, and Avery Point as well when I get a chance. When I am able to get a coach in and see what's going on, to me it's going to be a good program. So this is exciting. Now, just as a little bit of an introduction, you grew up in New Jersey, and I've got a little bit of tie there. My dad and his brother both went to Rutgers.
Okay.
So the Scarlet Knights, so I do follow them and their sports because of that their football and basketball programs in particular. It's hard to believe that that's a Big Ten school.
Yeah, it's strange they're not in the East Coast Conference anymore, but yeah, I have family who went there as well. So but then you migrated up into New York State to go to school, and you've also coached up there. You went to Rochester, and your tenure before coming to Connecticut College was at Hobart, where it looked to me that you had a pretty nice run up there. Yeah, certainly I spent, 7 years as an undergrad and assistant coach in Rochester, New York at the University of Rochester, and it was an amazing experience. Got to play on some great teams, played in the Division III Final Four, which was an incredible memory, and have some incredible teammates. So obviously those bonds were really special.
You were captain of one or two teams.
We had a bunch of captains. I was one of many. We had a really good group of guys, and similar to the Con team we might talk about in '98, '99, we were fortunate to get all the way to the Final Four and came up a little bit short. But yeah, just a wonderful experience. And then I was a graduate assistant there. And then actually went to Davidson, Bucknell, and Elon in between before going to Hobart at the Division I level. And yeah, Hobart was a great 5-year run. So I guess combined 12 years in upstate New York and certainly some incredible memories.
Bucknell, that's Patriot League that they're playing.
It is, yeah.
And they've had some good squads, although I guess this year they were struggling. But I don't know if you followed the old schools you were at, or you're focused in on what you're doing.
I try. The life of a college coach, it's really hard to watch other people's games, but I do my best. I have good friends pretty much at all these places. So.
Yeah. Now, you've been at Con since 2018?
1920 was our first season as the staff. So. Yeah, seems like yesterday sometimes, and it seems like 20 years ago at times. But
well, as we were discussing before we came on, I mean, COVID kind of threw a little bit of a curveball into everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And so many college athletes had that season cut short. It was really all things considered, with perspective, not the biggest deal, but for those college athletes, it was a really hard time, and certainly even after it, we're seeing the effects of it now with a lot of these student athletes are getting an additional year of eligibility. It's really hard to be a college athlete. We were kind of chatting about how good the Division III basketball is, but that's certainly a factor. It's very competitive just to play in college.
Yeah, I don't think sometimes the local high school kids fully wrap their heads around that. I think they look at the schools in the area. I mean, what would be Con, Mitchell, Coast Guard, or Avery Point. That's just D3, but these guys are good.
Yeah.
I mean, a local kid who went to Con, transferred in Henton. I don't know if you coach him, or is he before your time? Doug Henton?
No, I did not get to coach him.
Yeah, I mean, he had gone to New London High, and I don't remember where he went out of high school, but I think that it was financial issues. He ended up withdrawing from school, and the local reporter, Mike DeMoro, took up his banner and was pushing hard for him. Hey, he can play a Con, and, and they finally got him in, and he was a backup, and I don't think that wore well. I mean, and the kids are good. I mean, they're just.
Yeah,
and you're playing against good kids.
Yeah, our conference, the NESCAC, is I think one of the top conferences in the country at the Division III level. But the reality is, in the Division III world, every year there's
dozens and dozens of players that go play professionally. And even within our conference, I was saying to you earlier, I think there's been at least 5 in the last 5 years that have transferred up to Division I. So yeah, there's good players everywhere. I like to tell people, Marty, come see us practice, or if you're a current player, come play with our guys, and you'll really be able to experience it and see the level for sure.
Yeah. Now, do you run any camps in the off season?
We do. So July 15th to 19th this summer, we'll have mostly the little guys up to 9th grade. So anyone in the local area who's watching would love to have you there. So boys 2nd grade through 9th grade. Yeah.
And do you work with any of the local high school coaches?
I've gotten to know a few. Bill Bassett at Waterford is a Conn College alum. I've been able to meet a bunch of the other coaches in the area, and it's great. I mean, I think it's a good basketball community. Obviously, a lot of history in New London. Chris Dunn in the NBA. We have some great New London alums that were Conn players. So yeah, it's a neat area to get to know people in.
Yeah. Well, one thing I've noted over time is that it appears that in your conference that I won't say all, but most of the players are coming out of preps. You're not getting a lot of public school kids. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I would say there's a heavy lean to the prep schools, and I think a lot of it is they're accustomed to the type of school that maybe a Conn College is. Academically, for sure. There's also the reality that a lot of these prep school kids in today's basketball world are what they call reclassifying. So they'll take an extra year of high school, and so because of that, you're seeing a lot of 19-year-old freshmen.
Postgraduates?
Postgraduates, exactly. So they come in a little bit older, they're a little bit more prepared, maybe they lived away from home. So there is a little bit of that. Our team is great. We have some really good public school kids as well. Catholic school, New Jersey is one of our players. So we try to have a variety of different kids from all over the place. But yeah, there's no question the pattern is a lot of the prep schools are sending kids to our conference, the Ivy League, other teams like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jerry Quinn up at St. Thomas, I'm sure you've crossed paths with him.
Oh, sure. Love going to his gym. He always has a great team. He's great to hang out with. So love the Quinn family. Matt, headmaster at St. Thomas More. So great people. Matt actually played at Bucknell. So there's another little connection for you. But yeah, they're great. Love being able to go up there and see them play. And of course, he's got more wins than I can fathom. So it's always good to.
I've only seen St. Thomas play once, and that was when Drummond was there. He's only there for was at UConn for a year. I don't remember how many years he was up at. But I know that there's been a lot of fine ball players that have passed through St. Thomas.
Quite a few. So.
And by the way, folks, I'm wearing my Conn College cap here. As many of you may know, I did go to school there and got my economics degree. But my mother told me not to wear a hat indoors, so I'm going to be a gentleman here. But
we're glad you wore it to start the interview, so that extra publicity is always great.
But so how do you? It's funny. I pulled in. You were here already, but you were on the phone in your car. And when you came, you said you were recruiting. So how do you get your players? I mean, you're
always recruiting, Marty.
I suspect that you and many of the schools in the conference and out of the conference are competing for many of the same players. So what makes Conn a good fit for both the player and for the team?
Well, that's a great question. It's funny. You're always recruiting, right? If you're not recruiting, you're falling behind. So. That's nothing unique to Conn. I'd say, some of the things that jump out about Connecticut College specifically, number one to me is the location. We were talking about this. I just think where we're situated, the community on the water, halfway between Boston and New York, for so many different reasons, it's a great location for a lot of the kids that, do decide that it's a good fit for them. Obviously, the academic profile of the school is terrific, and you can really get a great education, meet some great people. The alumni network that we have is off the charts across the country and globally. And the final part I would say is hopefully the program for us specifically that we've been building, it's a very serious and a very fun but also a very intense basketball program, and I think we've been able to find guys that really value all of these categories I'm going through, but particularly the basketball part of it. They want to be coached, they want to be on a competitive team, and they want to play against the best. And like I said earlier, I think our conference is one of the best around, and so you can test yourself against the very best competition out there.
Well, it's also a strong academic conference, all the schools, and they're all schools that have been around for a while. They're not new schools. These are the kind of old New England small schools. And except for Hamilton, they are all New England schools.
Yes. Yeah. Well, what's interesting about Con is that for men, they were not admitted until 1970. So what's interesting
Women's
about
school.
It's a women's school, exactly. So one of the neat things about, I think, what we're seeing, and there's been some great people that have laid the groundwork for this, and actually one person I mentioned is Charlie Luce. It's actually the Luce Fieldhouse.
Right.
Charlie was a coach at Con and then went on to be the athletic director. He's the one who got the school into the NESCAC, which was a great move for the school. But long story short, we've had some great alums through the 70s, some great players in the 80s. The 90s had Coach Miller's team that made their Final Four run. So we feel like as a college, particularly on the men's side and with basketball, that hopefully we're just starting to come into our own, and that this is the start of something really special that can really grow and build.
Yeah. Well, you had a nice season this past year. I mean, you were very, very competitive. You had a nice record. You had the first home conference playoff game, I think, since Miller's run, which is 20 plus years. So that's a significant improvement.
Yeah, I mean, this was a really special year because of the guys that we had. Our seniors this year were the very first kids that we recruited when we got to Con as a coaching
So that was
staff.
your class.
Yeah, that was our first chance to really recruit a class. And we were really disappointed losing that game in the quarterfinals, and but outside of that, once we got over that, I think we could appreciate that we did something really nice to elevate our program. And
Yeah, packed house. I was there.
Okay. It was an
a lot of
amazing
enthusiasm.
atmosphere. Yeah, I at one point, Marty, I looked over to our assistant coach, Coach Mahoney, and I couldn't hear him. And so that was the kind of loose field house. For those that don't know, it just gets incredibly loud because of the acoustics. You have the one wall, right? The benches don't have any seats behind them. So the atmosphere was one of the craziest I've ever been in, and I've been in a lot of good ones. So that was really special. It was a great experience for everybody. I was really happy that the students and the community got to feel that. And like I said, we're disappointed with that day's outcome, but it doesn't take away from the fact that the guys, our senior class, all the guys in the program who've worked really hard. 18 wins. We came in third place in the conference. We were, one game away, and if you look at it really carefully, a couple possessions away from being co-regular season champs even. So to make that kind of progress, it certainly feels really good. The cool thing is a lot of our guys, and myself included, we're hungry for more. Like, we're enjoying it, but we're also very aware that, okay, what's the next thing we're going to be able to do?
But I also think it speaks highly of the league.
Absolutely. You're
I mean,
tested
not
every
that
night.
you're pleased to lose. I mean, you don't want to. But the fact is, I mean, Amherst has been there before. Man, they were a national champ a handful of years ago.
Yeah.
So Con's the new guy in town trying to break in.
I guess you could look at it that way. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think to a degree. I mean, for a number of years, Con has struggled, and so it's nice to see the improvement and just the fact that we got a competitive squad, and your that level of improvement hopefully will engender enthusiasm for the fan base too, in the school and the community as well.
Yeah, we've received great support from the students, from the community, the college itself. We'd certainly love to keep expanding that into the New London community. I think, if you're somebody that hasn't seen us play and you're in New London or in this local area, I think what you're going to find is a team that really competes. It might not always look pretty, but we have really good kids that leave it all out on the floor. And then the other great thing for me is we just have great people. we get a lot of children at our games, and like our guys, I have a 7-year-old son, Henry, who might still be up watching. I don't know, he should be in bed, but our guys are wonderful with children, and it's just a great family experience. You know, I think our camp in the summer, all these things have come together, but it's hopefully a team you can really root for, like good people that play the right way and really compete as a team, and that's what we really want to be about.
Yeah. And I also, at a personal level, enjoy watching the interaction between Conn, Coast Guard, and Mitchell, the 3 schools in town.
Yeah.
And when they meet, if I'm able to, I always enjoy trying to catch those games. And I've had Coach Jazz in here, and Coach Peretz, and Pete Barry,
Yeah.
and your predecessor, Satchrin, who's now an assistant over at the academy. So
That's
it's,
right. Well, all those folks are great people. You know, first of all, Tom, when I arrived, was really helpful in helping me get a lay of the land. I had known him since he was coaching against me. He was actually an assistant at NYU when I was playing at Rochester, so Tom
Really?
coached against me. You know, Kevin and Todd have been great. I've gotten to know them, both great programs. I mean, Kevin's team at Coast Guard went to the NCAA tournament my first year here, right? So that was pretty awesome. And then Todd's team went last year, of course. And so yeah, I mean, 3 teams in one city, all doing it the right way. You know, very competitive. I think it's a great thing. So it's certainly it's a fun dynamic to have.
and there have been, between just the 3 different leagues that the schools are in, and each school is in their own conference, they've all got some powerhouse squads.
Yeah, you get to see a lot of different teams, right, come through the city. And
I mean, we've mentioned Glenn Miller. I mean, he's at
Yeah.
St. Joe's up in West Hartford now. And I mean, almost, you know, Coach Calhoun was involved with that as
Right.
well, starting from scratch. But I mean, they built a powerhouse team almost overnight.
I have to say, you know, unfortunately, Hobart was able to beat them in the NCAA tournament the first year, but I had to slip that in there. But
Well,
yeah.
why not? You
Yeah.
should be proud of that. But I mean, they really stepped it up pretty quick.
Yeah.
And now you mentioned that you'll be playing them this upcoming season.
Yeah, it's
As an out-of-conference.
nothing's official, but the plan is to go up to Hartford and play in the St. Joseph's tournament. Yeah, it's a post-Christmas tournament. I think it's December 29th and 30th. So that's the plan. So
Now, do you schedule regularly a D1 school on your schedule? I mean, I remember a handful of years ago, and time flies as I'm getting older here, but going up to Central to see Conn College play.
yeah, my first year here at Conn, we went up to play Central. So that would have been 2019. It's not something that we do every year. For me, you know, if there's a great opportunity to play a Central, a Quinnipiac, someone in the state where it makes sense, or someone close by, it is a neat opportunity for the kids to do it. There's lots of reasons to do it or not do it. I think one of the issues is that it's so competitive to get into the NCAA tournament as a Division III school. Unfortunately, those games against Division I schools don't count towards your record. So there's lots of different issues, you know, some reasons why maybe you don't do it every year. But hey, if we found the right opportunity, I'd love it for our guys. It's a really neat experience to test yourself.
I mean, I went up to
Yeah.
New Britain to watch that game.
Yeah.
And I mean, it kind of held their own the first half. The second half, I think the depth and talent kind of took over a little bit. But for 20 minutes, they, you know, geez, maybe these guys can pull an upset here.
You have a good memory. Yeah, that was exactly how the game went. We were able to kind of control the tempo in the first half and not allow the game to get up and down. And I think we went into halftime, you know, down 2-4 points.
Yeah,
Kind
I
of
believe Daniel Marshall was still coaching.
Yes, he was.
Up there at Central.
Yeah. The problem is when you play the Division I games, you make a couple of mistakes, a couple turnovers. They got some runouts, and the spread got to 10, 12 pretty quickly. So.
Yeah.
Lesson learned.
Yeah. Well, if I'm not mistaken, too, I mean, Coast Guard, again, a handful of years ago, went down to West Point and played, and Mitchell made a run down to New Haven and played Yale.
Okay. Yeah.
And in both instances, I mean, they took a loss, but and if I'd had an opportunity, I would have traveled. I don't know if I'd go down to West Point. I go down there for a football game every year, but I don't know if I'd travel down there for a basketball game. But I got on to Yale. I enjoy Ivy League athletics, and
Yeah, it's great basketball. Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, I watched this year. I saw Yale and Cornell play down at the Payne Whitney, and the place was packed. The environment was pretty exciting down there.
Yeah, that's a neat. Yale runs an elite camp where we recruit at, and it's a really cool venue, like an old school gym. And the Ivy League in the last 5 to 10 years has just exploded in terms of talent.
Yeah, I'm surprised they can't get 2 teams into the tournament.
This year they
At least 2.
should have had them. Yeah. Yep.
So, but we'll see. But and Glenn Miller went to Brown out of Conn and had a lot of success there.
Yep.
And if I'm not mistaken, Jaskowitz, who's at Coast Guard, he was at Conn, went to Brown.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
So I mean, the coaching trail.
It's a small world. It's a very small world. Yes.
So this is like I say, it's interesting. Have some fun meeting you tonight, and just seeing how you've charted your path. Now, do you deal with your own schedule? Do you make or does the AD get involved with that?
No, we have the autonomy, which is great to kind of create our schedule. We were chatting about it in the NESCAC in our conference. We only play each other once. So there's 11 teams. That means only 10 conference games. So we actually have to schedule 14 out-of-conference games, which is a high number for Division III. So we try to mix it up. Last year I think we played like 7 teams that ended up playing in the NCAA tournament. But New Jersey, New York City, Connecticut, Massachusetts, upstate New York, you name it.
When you're playing Coast Guard and Mitchell, there's 2.
Always those schools. We've played Roger Williams in kind of a long-running series. There's just so many different options for us, which is great. Again, our location allows us to play a lot of different types of schools and in different areas. So I think that adds to the experience for the guys. You get to play in a lot of different places against a lot of different styles, because in every region and in every state, sometimes the game is a little bit different. It's certainly like a puzzle to put it together, though, because to put that many games in addition to your conference games can be a little bit challenging, but it's also fun.
Now, this past season, I think I mentioned to you when I spoke to you on the phone. I mean, I saw you twice this year. One was the playoff game with Amherst, and the other was early in the season before you really got into league play, and you had Keene State.
I don't know if we're going to be able to let you into the gym anymore, Mark.
Yeah, I was waiting for that. But they had a nice squad. And I guess they were nationally ranked, and they had an All-American player. That guy was smooth.
Yeah, Jeff Hunter, I think, is the guy you're talking about, the Keene State big guy. He was tremendous.
He had 30 points that night, and I mean everything was within the game. It wasn't like he was shot clock, turnaround jumper from 28 feet. I mean he was just he took what was given to him, and he was really. And he was fun to watch. I mean, he was just good. Yeah,
that was early in the year for us. You got to give them a lot of credit. They played really well. That was a tough one for us at home. David Murray, our guy, was a first-team All-American. So watching those two, him and Hunter, go at it was really a great matchup. The kid on Keene was incredible, though. I think he was like, 11 of 12 from the field, just super efficient. And the best thing about it, super nice kid. There wasn't any trash talk. He was just playing hard, doing it the right way. So certainly, gained a fan in me after that. I mean, rooting for his success, but he was tremendous.
Yeah. Now, you had 4 seniors on your squad this year.
We did.
Now, you've got some new freshmen coming in, recruits, or they haven't.
That's why I'm on the phone in the parking lot.
Well, they haven't signed on yet. I mean, I don't know what the timeline is for this kind of stuff, and but and you feel good players that were on the squad this past season, and actually the past few seasons. That I'm sure you feel you'll be a very competitive squad coming into the next year's team.
Yeah, just to take it, one at a time. Our 4 seniors who will all graduate this spring, David Murray, who was a first-team All-American, first-team All-Conference, Region Player of the Year, which was, some of these are firsts for Con, which is awesome. He's actually accepted a full scholarship to Merrimack up in Massachusetts, which is Division I. They're actually moving to the MAC, which is Quinnipiac, Fairfield, Iona. So David will actually go there next year as a graduate student on a scholarship and play for Merrimack, which is, just an awesome way to cap off his con career. Obviously we're really excited to root for him and cheer him on as he goes on to that next step for him. And he just gave so much to our program in terms of, when he came in, he was a totally different person, just worked his tail off into what he's been able to do. And so, yeah, it'll be fun to see him play at the Division I level. We have another senior, Ben Rice, who's from Hanson, Massachusetts, which is south of Boston, 6'8" forward for us. He's going to go to Johnson University in Tennessee, which is a Division II program. He got a scholarship to go there. So he'll play a graduate year there, and I think it's the Appalachian Athletic Conference. So a little bit of different venue for Ben, but again, for him to get a scholarship is just an amazing, thing for our little program and our school. And he was great. Just was actually on the phone with one of our other seniors like an hour ago. He's visiting a bunch of Division III schools in the region to be a grad transfer and play one more year. So we have 3 guys that will play again next year, not for con, but for other schools. One at the Division I.
From con.
They graduate from con with their degree, which is the bottom line. And then our 4th senior actually came into the office earlier this week, and he just got a job in Denver. So he's going to be in business out in Denver. So all 4 guys, our first class here, are doing incredibly well, and obviously we're a huge part of what we've been able to do so far. And then you mentioned the returners. They're chomping at the bit, right? Like, we love these 4 guys, but they're out.
Well,
so who's next?
That's college athletics.
Yep.
I mean, it's not static.
That's right. So we have a lot of guys in the program now that are just working really hard to elevate their game, help us continue to take steps, and they're hungry and they want to play. So it's exciting to see. And then the recruiting, it's a mix of everything. We have a few guys that are committed, early decision we call it, that committed earlier in the year that we're really excited about. We have a group of guys that are still deciding on what they want to do, deciding here in the next couple of weeks. And once we finalize that, we're excited about what we've done so far. I think we're going to be able to put together a group that can really compete and try to lift the standards even higher for what we're doing.
Now, at the D3 level, there are no scholarships. Is that correct for basketball or athletic scholarships?
No athletic scholarships, correct. There are, and it's sort of a misnomer. There's a lot of different ways to access financial aid.
There's financial aid, but
Yeah.
it just is not.
The coaches, unfortunately, we cannot give the athletic scholarship, right? So that's the one thing that's different than Division I level. But our guys are getting academic merit scholarship. They're getting financial need. There's lots of different ways that our kids can get financial aid. So in spite of the high costs, and certainly as a private school,
Con is not inexpensive.
It's not cheap, right? There are a lot of avenues to get financial aid, and I think a lot of our guys benefit from that. And but you can't give a basketball scholarship. So it definitely is a challenge, but in some ways makes it fun as well.
Now, I always kind of marvel when I'm watching younger kids, the high school kids, and talking to them, or I think that there's a belief that they're all going to be the next Michael Jordan, and at some point they figure out it's just not going to happen. They're not going to play for UConn or Providence. They're going to play at a D2 school or a D3 school. And as the coach and recruiter, at what point do you kind of get them when they're finally figuring out where they fit in and they want to play basketball and play good basketball for a good school such as Con?
Yeah, full disclosure, Marty, when I was a high school senior and kind of going through this myself, and this was 25 years ago or plus, I was still waiting for Coach Krzyzewski to call it Duke, probably until April 30th of my senior year, and most deposit dates are May 1st. So, no, in all seriousness, but there is some truth to that. I was one of those guys at one point. Maybe you want to call it delusional or, eye in the sky, whatever phrase you want to use. So, look, I think it's a balance. There is a reality to, there's just not that many guys that can play at that highest level. But at the same time, as a coach, I love players and athletes that aspire to be the best and play at the highest level. So it's an interesting balancing act. I love guys that want to be Division I players and for whatever reason aren't asked to be, but then find a con college, a place like ours, and realize like, wow, this is really high level, get a great degree. The coaches take it super seriously, and I can kind of mimic a Division I experience in a lot of ways in terms of, there's nothing prohibiting our guys from putting the amount of time into it that, let's say, a Division I player can put into it. So I think it's always a balancing act. I never want to squash anybody's dreams, and I certainly had them myself. So it is an interesting dynamic, though.
And in your league, also, because it's not just con, but all the schools are high academic institutions, where these young men have got to be able to perform in the classroom as well. There's no basket weaving classes at con, or anywhere in this league.
Right.
So you've got high academic performers and achievers, as well as those who are high with their athletic pursuits in terms of their competitiveness.
Yeah, you really have to balance it. And the conference, the league, has some guardrails in place, some rules that all 11 schools agree to follow in terms of who you can recruit, certain academic requirements. So I think it's certainly there's a real integrity to it in terms of that, where you cannot sacrifice the academics. You have to be able to not only do the work, but we need to find serious-minded kids that can commit to getting it done in the classroom in order to be able to play on the court.
Yeah, I jotted down the schools that are in the league. For the folks that are watching that may not recognize or realize, but you've got Amherst, which is one of the finest institutions in the country. Bates, Bowdoin, Colby, Hamilton, Middlebury, Trinity, Tufts, Wesleyan, and Williams. These are all extraordinary institutions. High academics, but they also take their athletics pretty seriously too at these institutions.
Yeah, I was going to say, as you're reading these names off, I'm already thinking about the season and quite honestly thinking about how good each and every one of those teams really is at basketball, especially. We play our games on Friday and Saturdays. So we play Friday nights at a certain, if we're at home, we play Friday night, and then we play Saturday afternoon. It's very similar to the Ivy League, who plays on Friday and Saturday, except they play Saturday night. So we actually have less turnaround time between the games, so you're playing less than 24 hours later. And that's done to maximize or to minimize the amount of time that our kids are missing class, right? So you're going on a weekend trip on a Friday and you're back Saturday night to get back to your academics. So, the model has been in place for a long time, and it's super challenging, but the academics do not get sacrificed, and it really is not unusual to see guys cracking open their books on the bus and putting in a little bit of time in the hotel to get some homework done, and it is the true model of a student athlete.
Now, do you have interaction with the students, professors, if in general, or if there's a student that maybe is struggling, that you would want to know what could be done? Do you have tutoring in place? What assistance that may be available for your players to ensure that they are staying up to speed and that they don't fail off the team?
It's a great question, and we're very lucky at
Because
Con.
the demands are high there. Academic challenges, I found them to be more challenging in grad school.
In a lot of ways, the undergrad typically is, right? And at Con, I was just talking about how, guys will open a book on a bus, and, that's not done everywhere. In spite of how hard it is, and it is difficult, I feel like at Con College, there's a great support system. So we actually have an amazing, I'll call him a liaison to the academic side of campus for our team. His name is Noel Garrett. He runs it's called the Academic Resource Center on campus, and he works with our team, works with soccer, works with lacrosse. He's phenomenal. He's somebody that's been at the college, over a decade. He's actually listed as an assistant coach on our website. That's how important he is to us. And he's just been incredible in my 5 years helping our student athletes. And then, yeah, I've gotten to know a lot of the professors. I'm lucky I get to teach a sports leadership class during the fall, which is a lot of fun. I get to meet other students. We have a lot of lively debates, so it's kind of a neat experience to be kind of also a little bit on the faculty for myself. But our guys, 2,000 students, small classes, so the benefit of that is while it is challenging and while you're in a smaller class where the professor very may well call on you for an answer in the class, that so you have to do the reading, you have to do the work. Having said all that, there's a lot of people there and on campus throughout that are going to really support each of our guys and girls as they go through this experience. So it's that combination of it's very serious academically and very tough, but also there's a lot of support, which I think is a great combination to have, to support these guys.
Well, I think that's terrific. It's important. I would think that would also be part of your recruiting.
Yeah, I could have used it more.
But when you come here, I mean, that these young men need to know that there are academic. When you got to do the work, but you also have the resources if needed. I mean, some guys don't need it, and others they need that helping hand almost every step of the way.
That's exactly right. It's not one size fits all. It's and that's one of the other great things about it, because again of the size, the fact that it's not too big, and we have lots of different levels of students on our own team, right? Guys that are close to perfect score on the SAT, and then not so much. But all of them are hard workers. All of them are committed to getting their education and doing it the right way, and that's all you can ask for. But yeah, there's certainly some diversity in that, and but it's a nice feeling as a coach to know that you have an entire community that's there to support. It really is a nice thing.
Yeah, and your athletic director, Mo White, I had her in here a number of years ago. She was at Mitchell College at the time.
Okay.
And then she went, I believe, to Long Island to Merchant Marine Academy,
That's
I
right.
think.
Yep, you got it.
And then pinballed back up here to Southeastern Connecticut, up on the hill.
That's right.
But so I think you've got a pretty talented gal at the helm of the sports department.
Yes, she's been great. When I came in, Fran Shields was, finishing up a long and very successful career as the AD at Con, and then we hired Mo. And I was fortunate to kind of sit in on some of the interviews and some of the meetings, and Mo was clearly kind of displayed that she, of course, had that experience that you need to be an athletic director, but more importantly, knew the area, knew the college through different ways, and so she's been a great fit. I certainly enjoy working, with her and for her. In terms of her leading the department, we have 28 sports, which is kind of neat and kind of crazy. There's a lot of us, so it's certainly a challenge, I know, for her. But she's been great.
Like everybody on campus plays something.
Yeah, I actually think it is easily a third of the campus are athletes. It's around that number. So that's also a neat thing. So our guys get to know the soccer guys who have had a lot of success, and really all the teams. There is a lot of interaction between the athletics teams on campus as well.
Yeah. Well, we were just talking off the air before we came on that with the soccer program. I mean, they had won a national championship, D3.
Yep.
And I think within our own community here in London, it's operating in a bit of a vacuum. I mean, this should be something we should be heralding and putting the banner out, beating the drum, and and let people know about it.
Yeah, what a great experience to be on campus and to be around for that. I mean, it certainly galvanized the community. It was a great group of guys. I know a lot of our basketball players were friends and kind of knew those guys, and we would go to their games, they come to ours. But yeah, what a magical run they went on. It was really incredible, and they beat Amherst in the final, so always good to do that.
Seems like Amherst is pretty good at a lot of sports.
Yeah, but it was nice to get that one, and yeah, they do a great job. And you're right, I think we should have some kind of sign or maybe something around that might be
I think that would be meritorious. And I think that's terrific. I mean, like I say, the quality competition and what's going on at next door across the road for you guys is, with Coast Guard. I mean, they're in a tough conference as well, at least with basketball. And I don't know if you play many of the teams in that group besides Coast Guard, but Babson won a national championship either before or just after Amherst. And so, I mean, there's a MIT and Worcester Tech, or Worcester Poly, I guess, at WPI. I mean, they've got a number of quality programs and high academic standards as well. I mean, nobody accuses MIT of being a slouch academically.
No, I don't think so.
Or the Coast Guard, for that matter.
Yeah.
So again, I'd like to just kind of get back to do kids come to you, or do you go to the kids to find them?
To find them. Yeah, there's.
I mean, it's or is high tech allowing coaches to watch kids, and you don't need to go to the gym to see them?
Yeah, that's a great question and a great point you just made at the end. I feel like the technology now has created more ease to travel around the country and learn about kids by doing it through video and doing it through the technology that we have. Whereas maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago, even 10 years ago, if you found a kid in a random place and nobody else knew about him, you might be able to recruit him without anybody knowing. And now I think the climate and everybody is just raising the levels of their program. Everyone's working hard. There's very little secrets. There aren't many guys now that I'll say slip through the cracks or don't get seen by coaches. So it's really competitive in that way. So I feel like if you just kind of go out there and start looking for guys, it can be really challenging to find the ones that you need. So word of mouth in recruiting, so contacts built up over the years, just going to certain places that perhaps Connecticut College, our school is, kind of noteworthy in, whether it be like New York City, New Jersey, places like that. But it's really, the recruiting is just it's a combination of so many different things. We do get a lot of guys that reach out to us, and every once in a while, that outreach, we'll find somebody who's really good. But yeah, it's crazy. I've done this a couple of times, Marty, in my career. I've tried to audit our recruiting. In other words, figure out where are the places or what are the methods that we're using, right, that are getting the results. And what's crazy is I've done it multiple times now, and there really doesn't seem to be a lot of rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes it's word of mouth, like so-and-so has a cousin who knows this person, and all of a sudden you're recruiting, their family
Do you have a
member.
network of coaches at the prep and high school level that you work with too? I mean, somebody will say, Coach, I think I've got a kid who's would fit your program well. And they know, and there's enough mutual respect where they're not going to send you a kid who can't hack it academically, let's say. You don't need that.
Yeah, no, high school and prep coaches especially, they have the hardest jobs too, because they're coaching in these environments where they have a lot of their kids that want to play in college, and there's that pressure. But yeah, certainly over the years, and especially getting here in this area, you get to meet a lot of great high school coaches. And I've often said, I really believe this, some of the best coaches, period, are high school prep coaches, because they have so much that they're dealing with. So for them to juggle all that and then still field a competitive team and be really good at coaching says a lot about them. So yeah, I have a great network of folks that I can reach out to, or will reach out to me and say, hey, we might have somebody that fits you guys, and so that is definitely a big factor in it. And you're always meeting new people, right? You're meeting new people that are coaching, or maybe somebody from a different area of the country. And that's the cool thing about Con, is that because we are a national school, we can go around to different pockets of the country in search of these players and students. And so yeah, it's been really fortunate for me. I can meet a lot of great people and do have a pretty strong network of guys that I trust that can help us kind of find, like you said, the right fit for Connecticut.
Now, has name, image, and likeness permeated your program or the Con Athletic Department?
I wouldn't use the word permeated, but I will say it's here. It's here. It's not going away. And I do believe that as we proceed here, it will become more of a factor. And I'm certainly, one of those coaches that wants to be out in front of that and make sure that, we're investigating all the different ways. And look, the bottom line, for myself is I want to help our players. I want to help our student athletes. And if they're able to take advantage of an NIL opportunity, whether it's a local business or something, I think that's wonderful for them with the amount of work they're doing. But yeah, it's here. We have, there's some limited NIL stuff that's going on right now, and I think, like everybody else, we're going to look to, take advantage of that and see what we can use it for. But at the end of the day, I would also say, though, and this is probably pretty important, it's never going to override the mission of the college or the mission of our program or any of the programs at Con, which is, find really good people, right? Get a great education, compete in your sport, get the value out of that, and then go on to do great things. And I just
has it altered recruiting, or is it altering recruiting yet?
I wouldn't say yet. I don't think in any major way it hasn't altered the way at least I recruit, or I don't think my peers recruit. Certainly at the higher levels, Division I especially, it's everywhere.
And the movement of players.
Yeah. The transfer portal is probably the bigger issue over NIL, even for us. So, the transfer portal, I was looking at the other day. I mean, I think we're over 2,000 names in it at this point for men's basketball. I mean, the numbers are staggering. And, on one hand, I think it's great that these students can, search and find the right fit. But quite frankly, Marty, I think a lot of them are getting really bad guidance. So, there's that as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's gone from being so rigid to almost laissez-faire.
You're not wrong. It changed really fast and very drastically, for sure.
I mean, one thing, and just having the opportunity to talk to you. I mean, you're young and dynamic, and so this is the way it is. Where so you're working with this in real time,
Yeah.
where I think perhaps some of the more mature coaches, maybe this is not what they're accustomed to, and I'm not sure how well they're responding to these changes.
Well,
At any level, not just D3. I'm just speaking at coaching in general.
Well, you've seen a lot of, I'd say, the older generation of great coaches sort of step away from it, and you don't know the motivation really at the end of the day. But it wouldn't be far-fetched to say that some of these dynamics changing may have had some hand in a lot of these guys deciding that maybe now's the time to step away. And I'll steal a John Wooden, right? And I'll kind of paraphrase butcher, but the minute you're done learning and adapting, you're done, right? Especially in the coaching world. So, I just think it's our obligation to deal with what's coming our way, whether we like it or not. And I think there are some good things about some of the changes, but then there's also things that make this, like you said, absolutely crazy. So,
one guy that comes to mind to me is, and I'm speculating on why he retired, but Jay Wright with Villanova just seems to be the poster boy for it. I've had it. I've been to the peak, and I don't need this nuts.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about you, but I really enjoy watching him on the CBS NCAA tournament broadcast. So maybe he kind of knew he'd be a really good broadcaster, because I think he's done a great job watching him do that. So maybe it was more of just wanting to go to the next phase of his career. I don't know.
And that may be. I'm speculating.
Right.
And I readily admit that. I have no inside information for any stretch of the imagination. But,
right.
But there's a gentleman who's had tremendous success, and just as we're discussing some of these changes, and they're happening fast.
Yeah.
So you got to be on your toes and be able to have quick feet and move.
That's right. That's right.
If you can't handle the change, you're going to be left behind.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt, and I feel like there's just new stuff coming along every couple of months now. So might be the new normal for a little bit.
Well, I tell you, I'm excited for Con basketball here. I'll tell you, I'm looking forward to your new season, and even though it's months off, you bring a level of dynamism to the job that has got me excited as an alum, as a local guy, and as a fan.
Wow.
So I'll
Appreciate
be looking
you.
forward to poking around and watching you guys play next season as often as I'm able to.
Well, we got to get you maybe a couple more times this year. So 2 was good, but maybe a couple more. And then also, you got the losses out of the way. So now you're going to bring us some winning next year. So maybe we do 3 or 4 and build it up.
The year before I think it was the year before, I saw you guys beat Trinity, and they were I would say a heavy favorite coming down to town.
Yeah.
And you guys played well and won, and they came back down to, I think, the following week and played Mitchell, and Mitchell beat them. So
Yeah, yeah, it was a good week for New London.
so that was interesting. That's why they played the game. You don't mail them in, otherwise you just why bother?
Yeah.
So that's part of the fun of watching in the competition and.
Well,
seeing where our teams can go.
Well, I'm glad you've enjoyed seeing us. I'd love to encourage as many people as possible in this area to come join us. Again, I think I said this earlier. If you enjoy basketball and you enjoy sports, but you also enjoy watching like good kids just compete for the love of it, I think you can't get any better. It's a great venue, as you know, being in the gym. It's tiny, it's loud, it gets really hot. And there's some great teams, right? We went through the league, some of the teams we played. There's some great, so you can see some great basketball, some great people on a beautiful campus. Hopefully we can continue to get more and more folks from the area to join us, really, because I think we're just getting started. And I know, our guys, most importantly, back on campus right now are literally working. They're working hard, and we want to build on what we were able to do this year. So I really appreciate the opportunity, Marty, to join you.
Well, this has been fun, and we'll have to have you back in at some point, preseason or postseason, but see how things are shaping up. And don't want to bother you in season. I think you got enough on your plate. You don't need me bothering you other than to say hello.
Well, I want you to check in, Marty. You saw him on the phone all the time. You can check in with me anytime you want. But really appreciate you, and I'd be delighted to join you anytime you need me.
Sounds good. Well, listen, is there anything you'd like to say on our parting? We got a couple of moments left here that maybe we haven't touched on.
Well, I would say, I'm just very grateful to you. It was a pleasure to connect with you on the phone last week and sort of be introduced to what you're doing here. I think this is a really neat thing. I was telling you off camera, I've been at a lot of different schools, and this is kind of a unique and fun thing that you guys are doing, broadcasting in the local community and giving different people, especially, not especially, but sometimes in the sports world, a chance to come on and maybe get a little exposure for the school. So if I had a final parting shot, it would also be, the college itself. I'm very lucky to work at Con, and, we've talked a lot about our program, but there's a lot of great programs. So if you're into hockey or into another sport, there's a lot going on campus. We're right on Route 32 right there, so we're not hard to find. And I think people will find, just a lot of fun environments watching good kids compete. And so I feel really lucky to do what I do. And I was telling you, love living in this area, especially because of the water. So we're getting ready for summer. So all these things are adding up to make it a great day and a great week.
Sounds good. Well, I want to thank you for carving out an hour to join me on City
Thanks,
Focus
Marty.
tonight.
Yeah.
And folks, you have been watching City Focus, and I was joined tonight by the head basketball coach at Conn College, Jim Sweeney, and needless to say, he's a dynamic young fella, and I think he's going to continue to bring good results to the Conn College basketball program. So thank you much, and ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week. Good night.